Today we're stepping into the heart of Franconia Notch State Park. We aren't just looking for a view, we're looking for a crack in the world, the famous Granite Gauntlet of the White Mountains. We're hiking the Flume Trail for an immersive journey through one of New England's most spectacular natural wonders, the Flume Gorge. Most people see the White Mountains from the highway, the jagged peaks of the Kinsmans and the Franconia Ridge towering above. But the Flume is different. It's a subterranean masterpiece, an 800-foot-long chasm of Conway granite that looks like it was sliced open. It has 90-foot granite walls that rise above the rushing waters of the Flume Brook. Before we even reach the mist-covered boardwalk, you can feel the temperature drop. The air here carries the scent of damp moss and cold hard stone. Let's head into the story. The year is 1808. Our 93-year-old Aunt Jess Guernsey has decided to go fishing. While tromping down a path along the Pemmy, she was awestruck by what she discovered. Aunt Jess saw the Flume, with a huge egg-shaped boulder precariously hung between the gauntlet's towering walls. I'd like to say she quickly ran back to tell all of us, but I doubt that was the truth of the matter. What legend holds is that Aunt Jess had a rough time convincing others to follow her back to verify her discovery. And legend further details that a heavy rainstorm started a landslide, and the gauntlet's hanging boulder was displaced, never to be reckoned again. The Flume looks a little different for us today, but we can feel that same sense of awe as we too see the Flume for the first time. Whether you're planning a trip to the White Mountains of New Hampshire to see your Aunt Jess, or just love a great outdoor adventure, this video covers everything the Flume Trail has to offer. We'll cross covered bridges, feel the mist from the thundering Avalanche Falls, and peer into the depths of the pool. From the blocks and boulders of the Conway granite of the Flume to the tight squeeze of the Wolf Den Cave, discover why this 2-mile loop is a must-hike destination in New England. Confession time: I did not realize that the hike cost money? We've hiked thousands of miles and I really can't remember where else we paid to do a particular hike. But voila, and the price is steep. It doesn't seem to deter folks. It is highly recommended to book your tickets online in advance. Franconia Notch State Park uses a reservation system to manage crowds, and walk-in tickets are not guaranteed, especially during peak foliage season. We were in luck and we were able to purchase our tickets on the spot. We are ready to embrace the Flume Trail. This is a full-course hike that's compacted into a 2.2-mile hike along gravel paths, over wooden bridges, and boardwalks, with 450 feet gain in elevation. We were there in mid-August and did not have to deal with the relentless black fly season, which typically falls between late May through June. Always keep an ear and eye out for the black bears. You will note signs all around. This is a fast-paced hike along the boardwalk because it's usually fairly crowded. I only carried a phone, nothing to eat or drink. You sort of need your hands free with the handrails on the steep sections near the falls. You'll be taking more photos than you think. Honestly, photos don't do justice to this 90-foot granite-walled gauntlet. One of the most noticeable sights is the Great Boulder, which is your cue to veer right on this loop trail. Peer through the trees to see the red-gabled covered bridge. Follow the others through the historic 1886 covered bridge, which provides access across the Pemmichewasset River, known as the Pemmy by locals. The bridge is one of the oldest in the state and is beautifully maintained. You will notice the circa 1930 Boulder cabin up ahead. If you have time, investigate the displays. The room is very authentic and vintage, and there are a lot of photos and paraphernalia from souvenirs of the Franconia Notch. I'm not sure why this cabin hasn't been spiffed up a bit. I do want to interject a side note. The Franconia Notch has a few other names, mostly used by people that travel it a lot. This is the primary artery between northern and southern New Hampshire, and it is Interstate 93. One cool thing about this section of the interstate is this part of the stretch through the Notch is the narrowest section of interstate highway in the entire nation. Let's exit the side door to return to the Flume Trail along Flume Brook. As you peer left, you will pass along the feature noted as Table Rock. This slab of Conway granite is 500 feet long and 75 feet wide. Visitors are asked to refrain from the slippery rock and keep on the trail. Then the Flume itself is a natural gorge extending 800 feet. The mist, the boardwalk, the rushing water, testifies that you are inside a granite gauntlet. It gets noisier and more crowded and more intense. The boardwalks are pinned directly into the granite. On either side, walls of stone rise 70 to 90 feet above your head. They are so close in some spots, only 12 feet apart, that the sky becomes a narrow ribbon of blue. Take your time as you walk along the boardwalk. This is why you pay the fee, to see the flume and the hanging gardens. Because of the constant mist, the walls are draped in rare mosses and liverworts that don't grow anywhere else in the park. Investigate the gorge walls closely to appreciate the colorful displays of flowers, ferns, and mosses. Even in the height of a New Hampshire July, the gorge breathes cold air. It's nature's air conditioning. As you move deeper, you reach Avalanche Falls. This is the crescendo. A 45-foot waterfall thunders down at the head of the flume. Stand there for a minute. Let the mist hit your face. This is the raw, unedited power of the White Mountains. Remember Aunt Jess's boulder? That heavy rainstorm also caused an avalanche, creating Avalanche Falls at the top of the flume. Once you climb the stairs past the falls, and yes, your calves will feel it, the trail levels out. But the story isn't over. All this is reached along the flume path. The hikers sort of stack up at this point at the top of the gorge where it all starts at the head of the Avalanche Falls. That is a 45-foot waterfall. This is also the apex of the hike. What you might not realize is there is much more to experience. Continuing downhill along Ridge Path, take the turnoff to see Liberty Gorge. It is simply breathtaking. Liberty Gorge gushes forth while you descend to pass the view of the pool. The pool is a 40-foot deep basin in the Pemigewasset River that is 150 feet in diameter, surrounded by 130-foot high cliffs. You can see the brilliantly designed Sentinel pine-covered bridge and the boardwalk in the background. A sentinel pine stood high on the cliff above the pool for centuries. The tree's duty did not end in the wake of the September 1938 hurricane that uprooted it from its post. What was once one of the state's largest trees then formed the base for the covered bridge that we can all walk through today. That is just super cool. For the adventurous, there's the Wolf Den. It's a narrow squeeze through a talus cave. You'll be on your hands and knees, navigating the tight rock, feeling like an explorer from a different era. It's a reminder that New Hampshire's beauty isn't just pretty, it's rugged. It's tactile. I'm guessing half the hikers squeeze through the Wolf Den and the other half walk around. We squeeze through, of course. It all depends on your size. trail loop backs to a section of large boulders called Glacial Erratics. New Hampshire has the world's largest erratic, not all that far away from the Flume. Here are a few pictures of what is known as Madison Boulder. I am placing a link in the description to my video on the Cannon Mountain Aerial Tram, which is down the road. Or is it up the road? Well, it's north from here. I also did a short on the Basin, also in the state park, and Madison Boulder, which I just mentioned. There is a gift shop where you won't want to neglect buying yourself a postcard. As I always say, it's the cheapest souvenir. History buffs will enjoy perusing the displays related to the Notch, transportation, the White Mountain National Forest, and more. For those of you wanting to catch an easy spot along the Appalachian Trail, you can find a trailhead just outside the main parking lot for the Flume. Question: would you have braved the Wolf Den crawl or choose to take the bypass? Between the 300 stairs around Avalanche Falls and squeezing through the Wolf Den, the Flume Gorge definitely earned me that post-hike double scoop of maple walnut ice cream. 10 out of 10 would walk through this granite masterpiece again. The Flume is a tremendous place to visit in every season, and this makes it a return-again kind of place. Franconia Notch, you never disappoint. If you haven't stood in the midst of the Flume yet, put this at the top of your New England bucket list. And by the way, most visitors spend an hour and a half to 2 hours exploring the gorge, taking photos, and navigating the stairs and boardwalk. Ugly shoes on the ground. Unclassic road trip. Be sure to check out my hikes and byways playlist because it has lots of great places you will want to explore in person or from your armchair, whichever you prefer. P.S. I have a couple great videos on New Hampshire's eastern neighbor, the state of Maine, also in New England.